Throwback Thursday on Gonzaga Nation SI continues on. I'm your host, Dan Dickau, connecting with former Zags, whether they are teammates of mine, Gonzaga players before or after. This current player that I'm about to speak with was a player almost at the same time as me, just slightly after, played in one of the most iconic Gonzaga games up until recent memory when they finally broke through and get to the Final Four. Tony Skinner. Tony, thanks for joining.
Thanks, my man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, you and I crossed paths many times when I was leaving Gonzaga and you were about to come to Gonzaga.
Right.
Obviously, you live in Spokane now. We both have similar interests as far as youth basketball and doing what we can to help impact the game in Spokane that we love. But tell me really quickly, who was the influence for you that helped drive you to love the game of basketball and be able to play at the Division I level for Gonzaga?
Ooh, man. I mean, you know the era we grew up in, Michael Jordan. I mean, just watching him play, his not only his tenacity, but his joy he had when he was out there. I mean, he made it look fun, whether it was trash talking, dunking on somebody, stealing the ball. And for me, when I started playing, I just fell in love with it. And the more I watched him, guys like him, Vince Carter, Allen Iverson, I mean, those are the kind of the guys that I looked up to when I was playing. And those are kind of the guys I could try to emulate my game, behind. And watching those guys play, like I said, just the joy they have when they play. That I think that's what drove me there the most.
Joy for the game is huge. And I think that separates a lot of players from becoming great or just being good. When you watch the game now, currently, you mentioned some former great NBA players. Do you gravitate towards watching anybody in particular during these NBA playoffs?
I mean, before it was Kevin Durant. That guy, the way he does things, his height, his size, his ability, his tenacity, his competitiveness, him, Devin Booker. I mean, growing up in the Southwest, you kind of start liking the Phoenix Suns back in Kevin Johnson days and Charles Barkley, and kind of keep track of them here and there. But yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, I like Paul George, just the way they play the game on both sides.
You mentioned growing up in the Southwest. I believe you grew up in Albuquerque. Am I correct?
Correct. You are correct.
So myself, as well as a lot of former teammates, one of the most disappointing Gonzaga end to a season occurred in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been back 3 times, I think, since. Twice playing in the G League, once as a broadcaster. Tell us about Albuquerque, the love for basketball, because New Mexico is a great basketball program when they get it going.
It is.
Rich Pitino's doing a great job now, but tell us a little bit about your growing up playing basketball in Albuquerque.
I mean, back when we played, there was, like you said, you and I are both in youth development right now and helping the kids kind of learn the game. When I was playing growing up, it was you go outside and just play. You find guys that are playing the game, older guys, younger guys, and you just went out and play. I mean, out there, any part, weather definitely helps with it. It's nice and sunny out there most of the time, most year round. So just being able to go out to parks and play and see that aspect of it, I think that's the biggest thing in Albuquerque. You don't have to be in a gym down there. It doesn't have to be air conditioned. If the guys want to play, they'll be out there playing.
So you grew up in Albuquerque. We played there my senior year. Alex Hernandez, Anthony Reason,
Yep.
Blake Stepp, Corey Violet, Ronnie Turioff. We played in Albuquerque, then we ended up losing in the NCAA tournament. Is there any truth to the altitude affecting players in Albuquerque?
I will tell you what. So growing up in Albuquerque, when I left to go to junior college, which was in Colorado, you would think Denver, Mile High, that's high, elevation. It was nothing. I went back to Albuquerque after junior college, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. Then when I came to Spokane and went back, you talk about the difference. That is a huge – I think now with my age and stamina, I don't go to Albuquerque and play basketball no more. It's not the talent. it's the breathing.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, there comes a certain point in time where guys occasionally play. They play recreationally. They play to win. or they just kind of support others in their journey and their path. So I get that with the altitude being down there versus up here for sure.
Yeah.
What made you, you obviously went to junior college first.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Hernandez, who was a recent guest on Throwback Thursday, went to junior college first. I think there's an unbelievable place for four-year guys, junior college to Division I guys, and there's transfer portal guys that fit. What was it about Gonzaga for you as a junior college guy that made sense?
Well, I'll tell you a little funny story about that game you guys played against Wyoming in Albuquerque. I was actually getting recruited by Wyoming at the same time as Gonzaga. When we lost that game, I got to hear it a little bit, but for me, it was I wanted to play in the NCAA tournament. When I was in high school, I didn't get recruited by a lot of, actually zero Division Ones. It was a couple of junior colleges and a Division II. My high school coach told me, if you want a chance to go to play Division I, go junior college route. Grades weren't the issue. A lot of guys go to junior college because of the grades. That was not the issue. It was just being recruited and just giving myself that option to play Division I. Division II was always going to be there if I went to junior college, but I just wanted that option. And then when Gonzaga came around, they were actually recruiting one of my teammates, and I was on the tape, and they kind of liked what they saw, and we talked, and the rest is history.
Who would that teammate have been? Because that was, you came in the year after I left.
Right.
So I believe your recruiting visit in the spring, I might have been around. I might have not have been.
I think so. Casey, yeah, I think you guys were around. It was Nick Valdez. He ended up going to play at Texas Tech.
Yeah, I remember that name for sure.
Yep.
Isn't that funny how the world of basketball works? Is sometimes you're not somebody's initial primary target, but you become the perfect fit.
Man, that's so true. Like you said, it's not about the opportunity, it's the preparation for when the opportunity arises.
So they were looking at your teammate. They saw you on film. They liked what they saw. You take a visit, you figure out, hey, this might be good. What was it about Gonzaga that made you say, you know what, that's where I need to be?
I'm gonna be honest. Shout out to my man Winston Brooks. He was the biggest reason I came up here. He reminded me a lot of my family, my brothers. He's from Virginia. My dad, I got a family in Virginia, and we kind of just hit it off. And, I'd been to a couple other recruiting trips, and, you get to know the players a little bit, but there was something about Gonzaga, not even just Winston. Some of the other guys were there, Kyle Bankhead, Blake Stepp, Richard Fox, Violet, Turioff. There's the family atmosphere, being wanted. I guess that was the biggest thing. You're not just another player to take my spot, but you're here to help us.
Winston Brooks. I think, Winston is one of the best on-ball defenders I've played against, regardless of levels. High school, college, professionally. He was one of those guys that he probably could have averaged more points per game in college, but he was selfless.
Yes.
When you look at teammates while you were at Gonzaga, you mentioned Winston already. Are there other teammates that kind of fit the description of being selfless, that took a backseat so the team could have success?
I think that mold fits for everybody. The lineup we had my senior year. You're talking, we had myself, Bankhead, Stepp, Violet, Turioff, Earl Knight, Adamors, Derek Ravio, Sean. When you got a lineup like that, there's guys that are going to be taking a back seat. And if you're not following in the line and taking it for the right reason, you can see it. And I don't think that ever showed with us, because like I said, we were all there for the ultimate goal, and that was to play together and win.
So you were part of one of the most iconic games in Gonzaga history until they made the Final Four. And that was the Arizona battle. I believe it was 2003.
Yep.
In Salt Lake City at University of Utah. Blake just barely missed a little floater to kind of by a win. Run us back through that game, kind of the lead up to the final parts of the game, and then the emotions afterwards.
So like I said, growing up in the Southwest, Arizona is a big school down there. Richard Jefferson, Gilbert Arenas, those type of guys that were down there, Channing Frye. And when I was in junior college, I actually sent them a letter, to try to get recruited. And you know how it goes, the GU's at this point now where they recruit 2-3 years down the road. They don't recruit for the next year. And that's kind of what they told me. So it kind of stuck with me. I never thought we'd get the chance to play them, but when we got to play him, trust me, I remember that conversation. I think honestly that had a lot to do with just being relaxed and just playing. That game ended up playing all 50 minutes of it, did not come out one time. And it was just
Really?
being,
I
being
don't
locked
remember
in and
that
focused.
in
Oh
the
yeah.
discussion. That's unbelievable.
Yep. Yep. Didn't come out the whole game. I mean, it was just the focus, and just being in the moment. That was also my first time playing in the NCAA tournament. We had beat Cincinnati before, which was a crazy ending in itself. And then to play Arizona, like I said, a team I grew up watching, and to be in the NCAA tournament, it's that opportunity, being ready, being prepared when that opportunity comes.
So you go from junior college to play to Gonzaga. You're a big part of what they do. You're starting. You play 50 minutes, as you mentioned, in the NCAA tournament against Arizona. How do you earn Coach Few's trust that quickly?
I think my style of play, I grew up in a system. In Albuquerque, we ran a lot of plays. But like you said, on the defensive end, I took pride in playing defense. I took pride in rebounding. And so for me, I knew as long as I could do those things, scoring to me wasn't my main thing. I tried to find other things I could do to impact the game. And I think Coach Few saw that. And that's what allowed me, to earn his trust and get that playing time right off the bat.
So Coach Few is one of the greats. He's going to go down in history, as the greatest coach in Gonzaga history, clearly, possibly on the West Coast outside of John Wooden. He is a future Hall of Famer. You, which I think a lot of our listeners won't realize, you have coached against Coach Few in girls youth AAU in Spokane. What was that like?
I'll tell you what, it's hard not to keep the personal aspect out of it. I mean, you're coaching against your old coach. You got to show him, I know what I'm doing. I want to beat you. He still got it. I mean, they beat us. He still got it. It was a lot of fun, though. It was good to see that side of him. I mean, we all know as players, when you're under a coach and depending on the situation, your relationship is different. And when you leave as a player and you're a young man, you're an adult, you turn into more of that friendship. And I think that was the most fun about it, was being able to joke back and forth with him during the game, talk about things, that we used to do. And it was just a good time, just being out there as friends versus coach and player.
Who won?
Oh, he won. He won.
So his winning percentage in girls AAU is very good, just like in NCAA.
It's when you guest appear here and there, yes. I don't think he's coached a full season yet. I don't think mentally it's different from college guys to middle school girls. So yes, for sure, he's definitely a great coach. I think it's a little bit different though if that was his full-time job right now.
So, did he work the officials just like he does during a NCAA tournament or a WCC game?
No, that I think that was the thing that scared me the most. He was really quiet, he didn't say much. And that I'm used to seeing him walk up and down, take that jacket off, turn a little red, get a little upset. And nope, none of that happened. He was real quiet. I think that's what made me the most nervous.
That's tremendous. Hey, give us a little bit of your time at Gonzaga. Who was your favorite teammate and why?
Oh, you already know, Mr. Brooks. Man, that's my guy. Still talk to this day. Actually, our kids play together on a basketball team. Good family. I mean, he's family. I wouldn't even call him a friend. He's family. Of course, there's other guys, Ronnie, Earl. But yeah, Winston and I mean, inseparable since I've moved up here.
How about experience? You mentioned the Arizona game. Let's take that one out of the equation. Is there another experience, whether it's a game, whether it's a practice, that kind of quickly pops to mind that, hey, I remember that influenced me. That was a hugely beneficial time in my life.
It was the Maui Invitational. I mean, getting into from junior college to Division I, the level that we're playing at, the size of the guys, the speed, the knowledge of the game. When we went to the Maui Invitational my junior year, I mean, to me, that was probably the biggest eye opener.
Who'd you guys play in Maui that year?
We had Utah, Indiana, and Kentucky.
That's a pretty legit group of teams. I mean, Utah has been undervalued nationally. They've been to Final Fours. Kentucky and Indiana are two blue bloods.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because this is kind of the transition point from Gonzaga when I played to the next level. My senior year, we played in the Great Alaska Shootout. That was a great tournament, but it wasn't the Maui Invitational. That's still to this day probably the best early non-conference tournament in basketball. What was the Maui Invitational really like?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, you can't beat being on the beaches in Hawaii, and playing basketball. I mean, you got the best of both worlds, but just the competition they have out there. I mean, you look at it now, just a few years back, you got Rui Hachimura versus Zion Williams, just the level of competition that goes there, the teams that play in that. I think that speaks for itself and why it is so big and so watched.
Do you have a favorite current Gonzaga player in college and then a favorite current Gonzaga player in the pros?
Ooh, man, that's tough. Let's see. In college right now, I don't know. I mean, I like watching them all. There's, to me, I'm a little selfish. I like the defensive guys. I like the stoppers. I like the guys that are going to go out there and shut guys down. Hunter Salas, I mean, he was one of my favorites when he was in there. Anton does a great job at playing defense, bringing energy. He reminds me a lot of Turioff. Current players in the NBA right now, DeMontis. I mean, that guy is who would have known? I mean, yes, we knew what his dad could do, but his knowledge and being the size he is and how quick his feet are. I mean, you can't teach that. That is just growing up, knowing your body, being around the game and getting a feel for it. So I think those would probably be a couple of my favorites right there.
Is there one Gonzaga player that you wish you could have played with, whether it's John Stockton, you mentioned Domantas Sabonis, is Shemek Arnowski maybe? Is there one guy that you were like, man, that would have been fun to play with this guy?
Casey Calvary. That guy, I mean, you got to play with him. That's just the way he played. I mean, like I said, when you can go out there and have fun while you're playing, how would you not want to go play with those type of guys? I mean, you're smiling, you're laughing, talking trash. That's what it's supposed to be about.
Casey, to this day, is one of the most underrated Gonzaga players of all time.
Yes.
I mean, his competitiveness, his determination, his focus, his athleticism, his strength is off the charts. If the game was played how it is now, I think he would be an NBA player. Definitely. He was one of the first guys to hit trail threes as a big, and his athleticism. You probably wouldn't know this because you kind of watched him. You didn't play with him. I played AAU with Casey in high school.
Okay,
and I played with him. I played against him when I was at UW when he was at GU, and then we were teammates. I have never been able to throw a lob dunk to anybody at any level the way I have with Casey. And I've never felt a teammate have my back the way that Casey has his teammates' backs. It's unbelievable.
Yes. I mean, that guy, like I said, just I mean, you see it now. I've had the opportunity to see him now outside of the game and he's still in Spokane, and seeing him around the kids, you can still see the love in him for the game, the passion for it. He's just a great guy all around. I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Were you in the game when he broke the backboard?
No, I wasn't, because that would have been against your New Mexico Lobos.
Okay.
So I was out with a broken finger, so I missed games my junior year. I was there, and I was blown away by the fact that he broke a backboard with his strength. It was amazing.
That says a lot. Not many guys have done that.
Yeah. Hey, last couple quick questions for you. NBA or college when you are kind of just enjoying watching basketball?
I would say college year round. NBA playoffs definitely catch my attention, but just the college, the way they play, they're hungry. They want to make it to that next level. They want to make a name for themselves. Whether it be the small schools, the big schools, everybody's out there after the same goal. I think the college for me, definitely.
Last question now. You and I both, work with youth basketball players in the Spokane community, trying to help them, figure out strengths, weaknesses, how to improve those weaknesses and achieve their goals. If there's one thing when you're talking to a kid, boy or girl, regardless of age, that is a emphasis, a focal point, what would it be? Would it be shooting? Would it be IQ? Would it be footwork? And what is most important to you?
For me, I mean, I tell all my kids this: it's the purpose of behind why you're here. You have to know why you're in this gym training. Did mom and dad tell you? Are you after a goal? We all know times are going to get rough. There's going to be hard practices, great practices, good games, bad games. But as long as you can focus on that purpose, why you're there, I think that is the biggest thing for me, to be able to fall back on in good times and bad times.
Well, you can learn a lot from good times. You can learn a lot from bad times.
Most definitely.
Speaking of that, from my perspective, and you probably can say the same. So, Tony, I appreciate the time. Thanks for joining Throwback Thursday on Gonzaga Nation SI. And we'll have to do this again maybe during the season.
Yeah, sounds good, my man. I'm around.